Hey guys, so let's talk about some of the situations and circumstances where an individual might actually be required to submit a self-assessment tax return to HMRC. Now, you might be watching this video and you're very much uncertain as to whether or not you are in a situation that requires you to actually submit a self-assessment tax return. Now, if this is the case, we're going to be covering some common scenarios and circumstances where by law you would be required to actually submit a self-assessment tax return to HMRC. Now, if this is your first time here, my name is Tess, and on this channel, I share weekly videos to help fellow entrepreneurs like you grow and thrive in their businesses. If you ever want to work with me on a one-to-one basis, you can do so using the links in the description box below. So the first and most common scenario where you would be required to actually submit a self-assessment tax return over to HMRC is a situation where you have earned at least £1,000 in your business, okay, as a self-employed person. That this could be where maybe you have a side hustle or some kind of, business that you're doing on the side where you are running that as an entrepreneur, as a sole trader, okay? And you're in the situation where this particular business has made you at least £1,000 gross, okay? So in this instance, you would be required to actually fill out and complete and submit a self-assessment tax return to HMRC. Now, the second scenario where you might be in and you might be required to submit a self-assessment tax return to HMRC is a situation where you are a partner within a partnership structure, for instance. So by this, I mean, if you are a partner, say within a limited liability partnership structure, then yes, one of the requirements that you would need to fulfill would be that you, as one of the partners in that LLP structure, is that you would need to submit a self-assessment tax return to HMRC. It's very important that you are aware of this if you are in a situation where maybe you are considering starting a limited liability partnership with someone else or, multiple partners, and you guys are trying to start a business together under this particular business entity. Now, I talk a lot more about LLPs and some of the pros and cons of LLPs in some of my other videos. I'll be sure to leave the links to those videos in the description box below, so do look out for those if you're interested. Now, there are other circumstances and situations where you might need to actually submit a self-assessment tax return. Now, this could be in the instance where you're receiving rental income above certain limits. It can also be in a situation where you are getting, money from maybe savings, any dividends that you have, or indeed any investments that you may have. You might also be required to file a self-assessment tax return and submit that to HMRC if you're in a situation where you are getting foreign income. Now, I appreciate that many people will fall into different situations and circumstances, and that can make it very, very tricky and difficult for you to assess fully whether or not you are actually in a circumstance that you need to submit a self-assessment tax return. So, which is why I'm going to be showing you an online tool which has been specifically developed by the UK government to actually help you determine whether or not you fall into the category of submitting a self-assessment tax return. But essentially, what you want to do is click the link, and basically that will take you to this page here, and you can simply click continue. The first question it's going to ask you is, did you work for yourself between 6th of April 2023 and 5th of April 2024? Okay, this is going to be very important, and it's important that you are aware that when you're filling out a self-assessment tax return, you're usually, looking at the most recent tax year or recent tax years, depending on whether or not HMRC has specifically requested that you submit historical tax returns or you submit specific year tax returns. Okay, so in this instance, it's simply asking you whether or not you have worked for yourself in the most recent complete tax year, which would be 6th of April 2023 to 5th of April 2024. Okay, and you can see here that it says you may have worked for yourself as a sole trader, a business partner, or a director of a limited company, even if you have had another job as well. If you're not sure what working for yourself means, then you can simply click this link and that will tell you a little bit more information. I do have a video which also delves into what exactly HMRC considers to be self-employed. Okay, so you can make sure you watch out for that video. It's somewhere up on my channel already. So if you're not sure what that means or if it applies to you, then you can check that out as well. So in this instance, I'm just going to go with yes, I did. Okay, because in the vast majority of cases, the people who might be watching this would most likely have worked for themselves in one format or the other. Now, the next thing you want to do is to click the next step, and then that will take you to the second question you want to answer, which was what was your work status when you worked for yourself? Now, it could be that you were self-employed as a sole trader, as I've already mentioned earlier on, or you are a partner in a business partnership structure, i.e. in a limited liability partnership structure, which again, I spoke about earlier, or you might even be a director of a limited company, okay, and in which instance, you know, you might still need to complete a self-assessment tax return, okay? There are different situations. So depending on what situation you fall into, for this particular video, I'm just going to click self-employed as a sole trader because the assumption is majority of people will fall into this particular situation. Now, the next question is going to be, did you earn more than £1,000 from working for yourself? Okay, this is basically the gross amount. So this is before you have deducted any expenses at all. Okay, that is what that £1,000 is. If you did in that particular tax year, okay, then you want to click yes, you did. And once you do that, you then go to the next step. And you can see right away that based on the answers I submitted, HMRC's online tool has determined that I do indeed need to submit a self-assessment tax return. It will then go on to tell you why they think you need to submit a self-assessment tax return. Okay, and in this instance, it says based on your answers, you need to submit it for this particular tax year because you're a self-employed sole trader. It would also tell you, you know, the fact that you need to register for self-assessment, and it will give you some clues as to what you need to do next. Okay. And so this is just basically how simple and straightforward it is to use this particular tool. As I said before, you can take your time, click the link below, and just kind of go through the different questions and tick the parts of it that are applicable to you. So if you're a sole trader, if you're a partnership, or if you are someone who is a director of a limited company, depending on your situation. Now, one thing I will say about this particular tool is that although it's quite good, it gives you a quick snapshot, I don't personally think it covers the situation for every single person, okay? But you can definitely try it out as a first instance. But if you're unsure of whether or not you are in the scenario that requires you to submit a self-assessment tax return, then do make sure you speak to your accountant if you have one. Alternatively, if you want us to kind of look into your situation personally, then please do check the links below to find out ways in which you can contact us to work with us directly. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget to like this video. Please share this video with someone who might benefit from it, and I will see you in the next video.